What is your standard for every movie that you make?
I have a high standard. I mean, I feel like any film I'm gonna make, I don't want anyone to question what the budget was. You know, I think you have to go in, I think you have to know your limitations and make sure that people are watching the scene and they're like, oh, this is good if, you know, for a low budget movie or for an indie movie. I try to make sure the production value is as high as a big studio production. I just think that's, and if you can't overextend yourself. I think that's what a lot of first-time filmmakers, that's the mistake they make, is they try to make a big movie on a small budget and you can see all the holes in it. You can't allow yourself to be in that situation because an audience will tune out if you can tell a low-budget story and make a good movie. Should you be doing car chases and big shootouts? If you can't afford to do it, you shouldn't do it. You should write a different story. I think that's a big part of, like, you know, the James Cameron method of making a movie. Like, you know, you're always striving to do the best you can. You're going beyond. You know, if you shoot for the stars and you're not happy with it, but you've shot so far that for the audience, they won't see the difference. They'll be happy with it.
So then to really question, should this just be a one location shot, I mean a film, excuse me, so you're not overextending yourself with dramatic car chases, as you say?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's exactly what we did for Last Shift. I mean, we didn't have the budget to do that kind of stuff. So we were like, well, how do we basically stay in this one location but make a really entertaining movie that people aren't questioning, oh, this feels low budget, or this you know is boring. I think that's the first part of, like, knowing your target range for money, which your budget size you're aiming for, how much can you raise, how much can you get, how much are the investors putting into it, and then cater your film around that in a way. Even if you have a written script already, don't just go into production with it. Just make sure you're not overextending yourself on the page.
Were you tempted to do that at all for The Last Shift? Like, oh, maybe we could squeeze in a street scene or something that, you know, aside from, you know, some of the beginning?
Last Shift, I wasn't, because I had done, Dread was my first feature, and it had a sizable budget, and I learned a lot from that movie because, you know, it was like a 112-page script. And the process of making that movie, you know, you're getting everything on the page. I learned that the way I wrote was very dense. I fit a lot of details on a page. And when you're shooting that, it makes it much longer. You're getting all these little character moments, or you're getting close-ups on things. And I ended up cutting like 45 minutes out of that movie because it was too long. Now, in your mind, you're like, 45 minutes, that's days and days of work that you could have spent somewhere else. You could have spent that money on something else. You know, that's just wasted money. It's not ending up on the screen. So when we did Last Shift, we shot a 69-page screenplay. Most people would shoot a 90-minute movie, a 90-page screenplay. And even when we showed it to some people, like some investor friends, they were like, it's only 69 pages. It's like, yeah, I know, trust me, that's exactly the page it needed to be. And it ended up being like 90 minutes on the nose. I didn't cut anything out of that movie. I used every frame we shot because we couldn't. The movie would have been too short. So that we were very disciplined on that movie.
How do you challenge yourself with each new project?
I spend a lot of time on performances. I think the two places I try to extend myself on are again, working with actors. I love working with actors. It's the reason why I like to direct. And I think when I watch a movie, I'm always gauging my success on the performance of the actor. And did they get to where they need to go? Are they giving a convincing performance? Are they comfortable? Are they pushing themselves as an actor? So when I'm in the editing process, I'm looking at all that. And then the other ways is with camera. I think because I'm so performance-based, I have to be very mindful of what am I doing with the camera? Is it interesting enough? How are we challenging ourselves with the angles and the, can you shoot this? I like it when I'm not very rigid when I make a movie. I'm very loose. I don't storyboard a lot. I'll storyboard maybe the scares, some of the big actions pieces, stuff like that. But I kind of like to let the actors dictate how we shoot a movie. What are they doing in the blocking, and then shoot around it. And you have to plan for certain shots with equipment, and you want to get those shots. But for a lot of it, I like it to just come out of the moment. And sometimes when you're watching the actors, you have ideas about like, well, why don't we shoot this with one take? Why don't we do this whole scene in a oneer and let the camera move around them? And sometimes you can save time that way. You spend time getting it right, but once you get it right, you end up saving a lot on not covering it in other ways. So that's always, for me, is like I like to be in the moment and challenge myself in the moment and always be kind of present to pick up on the special things that happen in a movie and not be so rigid. So that's always part of that pushing myself, is just constantly being in the moment with the actors.
And does part of not being rigid mean letting an actor come up with their own dialogue if they say a line slightly off?
Oh, for sure.
Works?
Yeah.
Okay.
I always tell actors, like, do not worry about the dialogue on the page. Say it in your own words, and also I like to play with the actors, and I'll tell them, are you comfortable with improv? Like, are you... Because I think you'll often get the most genuine performances if you tell one actor to do something completely different, and then you get the reaction from the person on camera. So they're never quite sure. And also that creates an air of like, well, I have to be on my toes, in a sense, like be ready to play and allow yourself to be surprised by things. But yeah, dialogue to me, whenever I tell an actor that's auditioning, I'm like, forget the dialogue. Like, do you know the intent of the scene? Then just say it in your own words. And certainly when you're shooting, you have to be mindful of plot, but you don't have to do that on every take. You can allow actors to play on different takes. And also I like to go beyond the scene, not call cut when they're expecting you to call cut. And you kind of just let it keep going and see what will happen. So that's all kind of about being in the moment there.
How do you keep up with technology?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not the best at keeping up with technology. I can be honest about that. And because I don't shoot a lot myself, it's something I have to be more mindful of. I think, when I'm very much the kind of filmmaker that I like to give my departments their space, in the sense that I want them to all perform at their best. I don't want to micromanage things. So especially with my, it's about being with anytime I'm approaching a new project, it's getting early on in prep with your DP and almost learning the technology then. Well, what's at our disposal? What would I like to do with this movie? To me, I'm just thinking like as a creative, in the sense of this is what I want, this is what I'd like to do, and I let the experts in their field tell me the best way to achieve it. So for me, technology is Final Draft and making sure my update's up to date, and Premiere, making sure, the editing software is up to date, but camera, it's really about me speaking with the DP and getting on the same page with them.